Hey guys, welcome back to One House Pub. Forgive my voice, I've got a little bit of a hoarse voice at the moment. But anyway, I wanted to do a follow-up video to my October unboxing of the Brad Southard flipper from Spyderco. It was just a quick little 2-minute video, and I've never done a follow-up to it. And that's because basically this knife has kind of been a bit of an odyssey for me. I have not been able to, I like it a lot, but there were certain elements to it that they just didn't seem to quite make it for me. If you look at the basic knife, and I've got here this is the 2013 Spyderco catalog. The Southern flipper was new in 2013. You look at the basic knife, and you see here that it's got brown G10 with the nice, modified kind of sheep's foot worn cliffy blade, which I love. You can see the clip here, or the lock side here has the titanium lock side and that clip, which is a little bit of a controversial clip. And when I got the knife, I just focus. There we go. I liked it a lot. Ergonomics are great, and it just I really dug the knife. The steel CTS 204P, which is basically Carpenter's version of Bowler's M390. Great steel. There's nothing to really not like about this knife, but there were elements of it that just I thought needed improvement. And it's taken me a while to kind of get the knife where I wanted it, and now I have it where I want it, and it's in my opinion a much improved knife over what is the basic stock form here. Again, you see the brown G10 and whatnot, and that clip. The brown G10 just never thrilled me, and I don't have a problem against brown G10, but on this knife, to me, it never fit. I just never thought that was the proper color for this particular knife, for whatever reason, and that pocket clip never worked for me at all. Right from the beginning, and again, I'm going to zoom in here and try to focus. I don't have the clip here handy, but the clip itself, while it's stonewashed, was not stonewashed enough to match the blade, so it was kind of a separate third kind of color on the knife. If you look here, you can see right here on the clip itself doesn't even match or follow the contour of the handle itself. It's a little off, so that's a little odd. And frankly, this end right here, the end that goes into your pocket, that's real pointy, and it did not offer a lot of room for inserting into the pocket, so it would catch on the lip of your pocket a lot. In other words, this clip just, other than the fact that it follows the line of the knife here, you can see how it does follow the knife's lines. Other than that, the clip was a fail. It bugged me from day one. And along with the brown G10, which I thought just, again, wasn't what I wanted on this particular knife. So, put that aside. Enter my version of the Southern. This is how easy, Bert. I know it's an exciting knife now, but try to stay conscious, all right? Try not to lose control here. All right. This is my Brad Southard flipper from Spyderco with an STR Steve Rice lowrider clip. Much improved ergonomics to the clip. Doesn't poke or point you. Goes into the pocket easily. Rides lower. I used to be a real huge fan of low riding, and I'm kind of fading away from that, and now it doesn't really, low ride's fine or not, I don't really care. So the fact that this is low rider isn't as big a deal to me anymore, but just aesthetically it matches the color. It's stonewashed. It matches the color of the side of the knife. Like I said, it's easier to go in and out of the pocket. It's just a better design all around for this knife. On this side, as you see, it's certainly not the brown G10 anymore. In fact, this is linen micarta treated to a vintage, and I don't know if the light's really treating it that well in here. The pub itself is kind of dark, so sometimes the lighting's not always the best, but you can see kind of the vintage effect, where my goal here was to kind of get an old-fashioned, kind of old worn black denim look to it, and there you're kind of getting an idea for what it looks like. Focus. There we go. I got this from Cuscati, custom scale division out of Germany. I ordered this from them and had them deliver it to me from Germany for the Southard. And it's vintage linen micarta. Like I said, you can see it's kind of got an old, kind of rustic look to it. Little phrase of micarta hanging off the edges. And actually, I went through it with a file and accentuated that even more so. But the Southard to me just was kind of looking for something different than that brown G10. And I looked around. I actually tried several different scales until I settled in on this one because I knew this knife could be such a slam dunk, but it just wasn't hitting on all cylinders for me. So I got this linen micarta, vintage from them. This is the same basic style of micarta that you'd see on if you go to their website, you'll see it on their all black paramilitary too. They have one that's called the all black, and I told them I wanted the same basic thing, but I wanted it thinned down. And that's another weird thing about the Southard in stock form is that the G10 on this side is really thick, so the knife's not symmetrical. You combine this thick titanium liner with a rather thick piece of G10, and it was thicker on this side than on this side, and I never understood why that was the case. To this day, I still don't understand why you would do that. I just keep the knife symmetrical. Anyway, so when I had them make this custom scale, I had them thin that down so it's a symmetrical scale and liner combo on the side compared to the the scale side on this, or the frame lock side over here. So just another added benefit of putting that custom scale on it. We'll also put a nice little bit of wicked edge on here. I actually got this. This blade is so thin behind the edge. I have this down to 15 degrees per side on this guy, and it's you can see the bevel is not really wide, so you'd have to go down to quite a bit more acute angle to get a really wide bevel out of this. Very sharp. CTS 204P is just a wicked steel. Really like this, and the stonewash on this guy from Spyderco from the Tai Chung factory is just to die for. It's just excellent. Again, this knife just had so much going for it, and it was just missing it with the scale and the clip. And those are such big elements of a knife of this kind that I really felt like I needed to adjust it. And now that I have, this knife just lands perfect for me. Flips excellently. It's got a nice caged ball bearing system inside here. It's very smooth, not quite as smooth as the Domino. I'll be honest. It's real close, but I give the edge to the Domino on ultimate smoothness, and I'd also give the edge to the Domino on ultimate Spyderco-ness. The Southers by Spyderco is an awesome blade, awesome knife in general, but it doesn't feel very Spyderco-y to me, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, I love Spydercos, but I don't only love Spydercos. And while it is made by Spyderco, it definitely has that distinctive Brad Southard look to it. So in many ways, I don't, even though I know it's a Spyderco, I can kind of consider it a Southard. I call it the Southard. I don't. The Spyderco element of it is rather minor in my estimation of the knife. I really kind of consider this, and I'll never be able to afford a real Southard, so I kind of consider this my Southard in my collection, as close as I'm going to get to it. Great knife though. Now that I have it set up the way I want, cool blade shape. Really dig the worn, cliff kind of sheep's foot, kind of whatever's going on here with a nice curved belly though. Kind of the swedgy look to the top of this, not swedgy, I take that back, but the clipped look, to the top of this blade. I also have a linen micarta over travel stop here, you can see, to replace the brown G10 one. Also from Cuscati. Just a great knife all around, and if you're a guy that dislikes the Southern in stock form, then by all means just keep it. I'm not denigrating that. I don't think it's a bad knife, but just for me, I thought, man, this knife has I love this blade shape. I love this steel. It's a great flipper. It's a ball bearing frame lock flipper. It just works great. It's just got it's got so much going for it. I just felt like between the clip and the scale color and the scale thickness, it was just like, man, those are three elements that this knife just missed on for me. So if you dig them the way in stock form, then knock yourself out. I'm not here to say you're wrong. I'm just saying from a personal preference perspective, I really dig this. And what's kind of cool about this linen micarta is that micarta actually develops and absorbs, develops kind of a darker color over time because it absorbs the oils from your hands. So the longer I carry this, kind of the darker and blacker this gets. If I get up close again, you can see that it's not, that it's actually got quite a bit of a gray texture to it. What's cool about this is you can take this knife, and I'll see if I can get it to play here on camera. Just rub it on your jeans. Get the denim jeans going here. You can hear that. I'm just rubbing it on my jeans really good. Just do this ever so often. When you come back into it, and you may or may not be able to see on the camera, but in person, it's actually lightened up quite a bit, and it lightens that up. It just rubs those oils back out of it, and you can treat it with like a degreaser too. I can't remember the name of the stuff that I use now, but it's just a degreaser that you can spray on it. But I found that just a quick, rub on my knee on my denim jeans here, on my Levi's, just helps to kind of keep the vintage texture and vintage look to it. But it is a little less grippy. The factory G10 is actually really super grippy. Some people say it's too grippy. I don't know if it's too grippy or not, but it is definitely not grippy. This is definitely slicker, but it works just fine. It's got enough texture and enough grab to it that you can certainly get a good handle on it. Ergonomics on this knife are fantastic. You get the little finger cut out here that just lends itself right to the index finger. You wrap these 4 around, perfect. This 4.5-inch handle just holds perfectly. You get some nice jimping up here. Not real aggressive. Could be a little better maybe. If you take like, here me, if you're a fan of this channel, you know that I'm a big Hinderer guy, and I think Hinderer gets this jimping, this big fat style jimping just right. And you take Hinderer jimping right here, and it just grabs. They've got it on the, and that Southard here does too, put a little bit on the side of the frame as well, which is nice. Hinderer gives you a little bit longer run, but it's just a little bit sharper and it grabs you a little bit better. The jimping on this isn't real grabby. It works, but it could be a little better. That seems to be fairly common in the Taiwan approach to building knives. The Domino is kind of the same way. It's got more of the standard small, file jimping that you see on a lot of Spyderco knives, but it seems like the Taiwan knives it's not as bitey. I don't know why that's the case. But regardless, it's not bad, and it certainly does give you something to hear. And if nothing else, it allows you to kind of index where you're at on the knife blade and whatnot. You can also choke forward here, and there's a nice little indent right here. So if there's no finger choil, so don't come around here because you're going to get bit by that blade. But you can still get a nice placement of your thumb for whittling or carving or push cutting like this if you need to. Just a great knife. And like I said, it was so good that I was like, man, it's just missing in certain areas, and I just felt compelled to go ahead and spend the money to make this knife all that I thought it could be. And after a little bit of trial and error and a little bit of an odyssey, I think I've actually landed it. I got this knife in a place where I'm really, really happy with it. Dead centered, like I said, flips fantastic, awesome steel, really cool custom scale in this guy. Awesome factory stonewashing frame lock that's got no play whatsoever. Absolutely built to the Taichung factory's incredible specs. I mean, this thing is just a rock solid knife, like all the Taiwan knives tend to be. People can say that they want to built in China, blah blah blah. They're not. Taiwan's not China. It's its own separate democratic republic or democracy or whatever you want to call it. It's not China, and Spyderco has a really good relationship with the small little family-run factory that builds these Taichung knives. And I don't care what people say, these are the best knives Spyderco makes. The ones built in Taiwan are the best ones. They just are. They're world-class knives, and this is a world-class knife. Aesthetics aside, like I said, I wanted a few changes and whatnot, and I thought, from a design perspective, a couple of things could have been done just a little bit differently. But from a build quality and a finish perspective, when it comes to Spyderco's, Taichung is the place apparently to build the knives. They seem to surpass the quality of both Golden and Seki City. So anyway, great knife. If you guys have not bought yourself a Spyderco Southard, by all means, I highly recommend it. With my mods, I think it's an absolute home run of a knife. Without those mods, it's still a dang good knife, and a lot of people love it. But you do see this knife modded a lot. You do see a lot of pimp scales on this knife because I don't, the brown I don't think hits with a lot of people. But that said, the underpinnings, the bones of this knife are fantastic. So you've got a heck of a knife here that if you want to take it and play with it and kind of make it your own, you can definitely do that with the Spyderco Southard. Anyway, that's 1 2 cents, guys. Keep the change. Sláinte.